through the mangled doorway. The voids showed no reaction, carrying on with their silent dance. A wide corridor carved through the rock led downward. Alice could make out letters and numbers on the walls, which seemed to form strange phrases. This place must have been built even before Utopia, way before. "This used to be a research facility," Arachne said under her breath. "One of the many. His den is further on down. Follow me." They continued through the damp darkness. Here the old rocks still bore witness to the old outbreak. This place was haunted by A-creatures. Living things had no business being here. Alice would have never ventured here on her own. All such breaches of A-energy from over the edge remained lethal for years and decades afterward. Every few hundred paces the corridor would fork. As they walked, they'd come across 3 more hermetic entries, either smashed or jammed, creating the impression that at some point in the past some giant monsters had tried to force their way out of here, crushing everything in their path. The irrational, suffocating fear which always accompanied the presence of A-creatures was growing ever stronger. Strangely, the voids showed no aggression. Apparently, this place was home to monsters of a much bigger caliber which were getting ever closer with every downward step. The darkness took on a life of its own, casting fantastical shadows on the walls as something intangible but perfectly real began to stir awake in its depths. "Hang on," Arachne whispered. "Don't move. Please don't attack it." She, too, seemed to be scared. The thing or things that had been stirring in the darkness seemed to have approached, surrounding them. The 2 girls froze, watching the dance of the distorted shadows cast by the invisible creature. Or creatures? You didn't have to be an enchanter to sense the paralyzing horror they exuded. The icy claws of terror constricted Alice's throat. Her breathing seized. This was something familiar, very similar to the sensation that the beast used to give her, although infinitely stronger. After a few moments of silently inspecting them, the presence drew back into the shadows, as if it had discovered some invisible rite of passage the girls had, or as if it had just received a silent order from someone else. Now they felt a bit better. The invisible grip had released Alice's throat, allowing her to breathe again. "What the hell was that?" she asked hoarsely. Arachne used her index finger to wipe away a drop of perspiration from her brow. "This is some sort of guard he has," she replied in a low voice. "Either a fiend or an Ahriman. I don't really know. It makes sure no strangers wander in. There's lots of them around here, but they won't touch us." "There's no living creatures here at all," Alice murmured, casting nervous looks around. "Never have been. Only monsters, spirits. They're everywhere. Why did we come here? Tell me." Arachne smiled. "You're smart. Nobody lives here. This is an entry point, one of the many. We're almost there." After a while, they finally arrived. The maze of corridors had brought them to a large room with a collapsed ceiling, its floor littered with heaps of junk whose outlines still betrayed some ancient high-tech equipment. A round black pedestal stood at the center, divided into several sections with strips of old discolored metal. The pedestal appeared to be just as damaged and disused as everything else around, but as soon as Arachne touched her master key to an invisible plate, the black stone began to shimmer with a pale blue azuric light glowing inside. Alice had seen these gizmos before. This was extra-dimensional stuff, an entrance to a handmade mini-universe. In the times of Utopia, people had begun to explore the concept of the pseudo-Riemannian space and had even learned to make cryptors. Still, their achievements paled in insignificance compared to the mastery of the Shay, who could create entire handmade worlds. At the time, Prometheus had mastered the secrets of their xenotechnologies, which had allowed him to build such amazing structures as the monoliths, the cube, and the testing grounds. This was